Okay, mnemonic is another technique to enhance memory after elaborative rehearsal. A second technique is mnemonic. Mnemonic if is the technique that we use to enhance our memory in order to remember the information that we store in our memory. We tend to use mnemonic. Mnemonic, we remember unrelated fact or figure by organizing according to the specific visual field, such as street or room. So we associate the information with unrelated fact or figure, such as street or room. For example, place in the room in which one study. For example, you study in the room, and then you tend to associate the information that you study in order to be remembered. You associate the information to the object or to the space in your room. So to recall, person imaging looking around the room and seeing every wall, a door, etc., which provide cues for remembering the facts or information in the sequence order. For example, how many of you remember which month has 31 days, which one has 30 days, which one has 28 or 29 days? So you can use, for example, your knuckle. That's mean this is what we call our knuckle. So for example, in order to remember the months that maybe we do not remember, but if we use this technique using mnemonic, where we associate the months with our knuckle, we have about for example, those on the knuckle have, for example, 31 days. So we start with the first knuckle. For example, to start with January, and then February in the middle of the knuckle, and then we have March. So on top of the knuckle is the month that have 31 days, and in the middle of the knuckle here, at the curve here in the middle, is a month that have less than 31 days. For example, as you can see here, January on the first knuckle, February in between the knuckle is 28 days, and then March, April have 30 days, May 31 days, June, July, August. So as you can see, all the knuckles, that's we put the month on the knuckle if we want to remember which month has 31 days. So we use this mnemonic where we associate the months with the object or anything that has nothing to do with the information, but we associate it in order to easy for us to remember the information. So mnemonic is using unrelated fact or object that we associated with the information that we store, or we just want to remember or to memorize, so that we could easily recall the information. For example, using the knuckle to associate with a month that have 31 days. Other thing we can use the technique is organizing. Organizing is by breaking up large informations or large amount of information into smaller sections. It's not like a chunking, more or less like a chunking ways, but this one is we breaking up the information into smaller sections. For example, when we read the textbook, or when we read the chapter section on memory in the textbook, we divide it into sub topics. For example, stages of memory, enhancing memory, and forgetting. So if we could divide the topics, organize the topics based on into subdivision onto smaller parts, then it will be easier for us to remember. So chunking is I already mentioned in the beginning, used when a group of items are remembered as a unit. So such abbreviation, for example, DNA. How many of us remember the whole term of DNA? It's even very difficult to pronounce. So instead of remember the whole thing, we just remember the most important part with the grouping of the item. KFC, Kentucky Fried Chicken. Of course, it's easy because we could associate KFC with the Kentucky Fried Chickens. But some people, in order to pronounce or in order to say it all, it may takes time, or we may forget the order of Kentucky Fried Chickens, for example. So we just say KFC. That means we group the items as a unit instead of long numbers. You chunk into the few pieces. Word also, we use abbreviations. Abbreviation, we shortens the long information into short information. And also, when you use telephone numbers in digits and words, such as, for example, this one, we tend to separate it with this dash, so that it's easy for us to remember instead if it is in the whole long information. Mood states are the way we encode the information, or the way we store the information, also can be influenced by our moods. So mood refers to the emotional states of individuals, and there is congruence between individual moods and the types of the information to remember. If in the good mood, we tend to remember positive informations better, and if we are in the bad mood, we tend to remember negative information better. So that's a mood can play a significant part in remembering the information. So in the good mood, you will remember positive information better. In the bad mood, you will tend to remember negative information better. Humor and exaggerations, you can use this technique also to enhance your memory. Humor and exaggeration can foster your memory because we tend to memorize, or we tend to remember things that are out of ordinary more or better than common knowledge, or common features of information. So things are better remembered if they are out of ordinary. For example, if we are using exaggerations, can create extraordinary. For example, if you draw the features of some things that is extraordinary, or maybe in the funny way, or maybe in the colorful way that make you want, you'd be able to remember more. So visualizing funny situations and drawing funny and exaggerated pictures while studying actually will improve the recall of information. So one way to remember the information when you are studying is to draw the informations either into funny pictures, or into something exaggerated pictures that you associate with the information. Then it is, according to the research, could improve the recall of the information. Also, can improve memory and learning. Improving memory and learning is by making up questions and answering them. So when you read the textbook, or when you read new informations, if you come up with the questions and then answer the questions, then you could understand faster. For example, if you read the textbook or new information, if you do not understand, so if you didn't understand, try to come up with the questions and try to find the answer to this question. If you could if you read and then if you understand, then it will be easier for you to understand the whole. If you read, you do not understand, then you will have a problem to understand the whole thing, and also to remember the information that you just learned. So it is important to memorize the information. In order to recall the information that you just learned, you need to organize the informations into a mind map. I always use this. For example, for the long informations, for the large amount of informations, I use a mind map where I put the main theme and interlink the themes, and then it's connected to each of the other themes. Then it will help me in understanding the whole things of the information that I put on the mind map. So mind map draw associations or link with the known material. That's mean you can draw my map. For example, this is the known this is the main object, and then you link the ideas. For example, when you read the textbook, the information, you can link the information. For example, this is the main point. This, for example, this topic, cognitions, and then cognition consists of what? Sensory memory, short-term memory, long-term memory, and techniques. So you just link the ideas, and then when you look at this on one page, you could remember the whole thing. If you put in the many few pages, and then to flip through the pages, it will take few times. If you are lazy, then it's very difficult for you to understand the whole thing. But if you put the mind maps, for example, like this, most of the information can be you can get straight away just by looking at one page. So it would help you to understand. For example, chapter 3 related to cardiovascular, respiratory, skeletal, muscle, and so on. So it's kind of helping you to understand the whole thing, and you can get the ideas how each other link to the main frames or to the main ideas. So mind maps is very important to organize the information and give you guidance and give you signal or give you clue to understand the whole thing. Another thing that you can do is to take a short break. So when you're studying or when you're learning, when you're reading, you cannot read for 3 hours straight. You have to take short break in between. For example, take a short break to go to toilet, to drink, or even though you do not have anything to do, you just stop for a while, for a few seconds or few minutes. It actually can refresh your memory. For me, I always, when I read, I normally feel sleepy, so I go to sleep. So according to the research, sleeping is actually good for you to make your memory become fresh and easy for your memory or for your mind to understand what you read, or to memorize the information that you just learned. So normally when I read, for example, after 1 hour, I go to sleep, and then coming back, I continue. So sleeping actually could help you, even according to the research, taking the short breaks or sleeps also can help you refresh your memory, can actually enhance your memory. Another thing is to study in different locations. So some people, they need to study at different location. For example, under the tree, in the library, in the in the kitchens, or in the bedroom. So according to this textbook, in order to enhance your memory, you need to switch the place, different locations, where the different locations, in order to enhance your memory. But it's depend on them, on you. Sometimes studying in your bedrooms is more productive or more effective than study in the library. Why? Because in the library you cannot eat, you cannot listen to the music, you cannot talk to friends. So sometimes you want to take a break. So it's up to individual in this if you want to study in different location. But short break is very important. It can refresh your minds. It can also help you to enhance your memory, and also draw association using mind map. Okay, we're moving to forgetting. Forgetting is referring to the inability to retrieve the information that you stored in the long-term memory. This is because it's affected by the way the information is encoded. Forgetting can be related to the way you encode the information. So basically, forgetting is when you store the information into your short term, you tend to forget more. And if, let's say, you want to remember the information, then you rehearse, you repeat, keep reading many times, and then you chunk the information, and then the information become stored in the long-term memory. But in order to recall the information, you cannot recall. That's considered as forgetting. So the inability to retrieve or to recall the information that you store in the long-term memory is because it is due to that's what we call is forgetting. Forgetting can be many different reasons why you forget, but forgetting can be affected by the way you store the information. If you store through semantic, you need to withdraw the information through semantic. If you start through for example through visual appearance, then you have to retrieve information through the same way. If you try to retrieve the different way, then you cannot be able to recall the information. That's basically about forgettings, and then we will gonna elaborate after these slides.